Right Hooks, episode number 4. Thank you so much for joining us. And I had to bring on Tyler again. We had so much fun last time just doing both of our bookings for John Cena in his final year. So go take a listen to part 1, that episode we had last week. Tyler, again, thank you so much for joining me again. Welcome back to the show. I can't wait to see what we have in front of us here.
Dan, thank you so much for having me back. Likewise, man, I had so much fun doing this last time. It's been a couple of weeks, so, I've spent a lot of time kind of hammering out the little details of this time and next time. Obviously, like you said, we're doing 3 parts of this. I could not be more excited, and hopefully not only will this live up to the first episode, but I'm hoping this will be the Terminator 2 of all of your podcasts. And yes, Terminator 2 is the best Terminator, and I will not hear any other arguments otherwise. That is the case, so I'm hoping that's what we can do for you today.
No, I'm looking forward to this, man. WWE is prepped for a massive start for the year with Raw on Netflix, SmackDown going for 3 hours for the first time ever.
Yeah.
But we're focusing on Cena's retirement tour, but all that encapsulated. It's gonna be a great 2025 for WWE. It's wonderful. And that's why we wanted to get our bookings out for the series. Out soon. We wanted to get them before
Yeah.
all the 2025 stories got rolling. So again, go back, watch episode 1 from last week. Thank you for watching this episode, and stay tuned in the coming weeks for part 3 of the series. Also, I mentioned Raw on Netflix, so a bonus episode will be out soon as well, with us chatting about the Netflix debut of Raw. All right, well, we'll go about this like the first time. Tyler, I'll let you go through your booking first. Then I'm sure I'll have some questions and comments after. Then we'll get to my booking. I want to remind viewers to let us know how we are doing with these bookings. Leave comments, leave questions. Let us know whose booking you like the most, mine or Tyler's. Um, leave the comments here. Leave the comments back in episode 1. Um, just let us know how we're doing. We really want the feedback of those that are watching here. And Tyler, before we get into our bookings, I just have to ask, what was the most challenging aspect for you on what I'm calling the summer of Cena leg of this retirement tuner?
Yeah. So I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm not sure if we did it on air. The biggest challenge for me was trying to be realistic in terms of the amount of appearances that Cena will have. And I just got to be honest. I gave up. I gave up and I said, "The hell with it. It's not real. I'm just gonna do what I think is good. I'm gonna do my best. I have no idea how many times John Cena appears in this. It could be 15, it could be 35, it could be 609. I have no idea how many, but it's enough to make it good in my mind, and so I'm gonna do it. So that's been the challenge for me. So much so that I just said I don't care anymore. I'm not accepting this challenge. I am avoiding it completely. So I have no idea how many times he appears, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, and not long ago, he said he was gonna be running a full schedule. And so it's kind of like, well, does that kind of throw out the window of that 35 to 40 appearances? So,
Yeah,
I'm kind of like, and we discussed that I think a little on and off camera last week. It's like, yeah, there's this, and we kind of want to stick to a certain calendar. But again, I think once I heard that, I was like, I'm not keeping track anymore. I was trying to,
oh good.
and I still kind of am to kind of keep up with like this many weeks before the certain PLEs, and just to make sure like I don't overbook something between PLEs. We don't even have all the dates for all the PLEs going into this. I
Right.
think we're kind of in agreement of where stuff is we think might fall. So at least we're not working off of completely bonkers calendars that we both made up ourselves. But yeah,
Right.
I kind of threw that out the window when I heard he was running a full time schedule. I'm like, that means we could see him every single week. That means we could see him on both shows, a majority of weeks. Who knows? I'm
Right.
assuming he's gonna be a free agent. I'm assuming he's not gonna sign a contract to any brand. So I think you're good to go on that. I personally found it hard to go from Money in the Bank to SummerSlam because we kind of pegged that Money in the Bank
Yeah.
being that first weekend of July. We already know SummerSlam's the first weekend of August, so it doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room between two pretty big PLEs. I had my match for SummerSlam set pretty early, so I was like, and
Me too.
I didn't really want to go away from that. I changed my journey up from how we get to Money in the Bank a few times. So and then so that kind of made that crunch between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam interesting, but I feel like I got creative enough that people are gonna like this. So, and hopefully they like mine better than yours. But you at the same
Sure.
time, you kind of, I like doing this too because I kind of want to see if I can kind of one up you in some areas, but I also know you understand that wrestling world more of like, well, how things might happen, the reasons behind things. So, but that's why I enjoy this, and I hope other people do too. So, Tyler, I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it to you, man. I'm gonna let you have your time to shine. I'll take a little nap here while you go through, but I'll still keep up with the slideshow for you.
Ah, yes, that's fair. I often do put people to sleep when I talk, so that's fair. Thank you again for letting me go first. Thank you for letting me do this. I'm so excited. Okay, so folks, just to give you a very brief recap of not the whole thing because I will not be taking views away from Dan on that. I will just give you a brief recap on the very last thing that you would have seen in the previous booking so that you know where you're at. If for whatever reason you're watching this and you have not watched part one, don't be weird. Go watch part one, then come back and
Yes,
watch this.
please. Yes, please.
Okay, have you watched it? What did you think? Let us know in the comments. All right, so the last thing that you would have seen is John Cena passed out at the hands of the Ring General Gunther at WrestleMania after being turned on by who he thought was his friend in Braun Breaker. I will spoil this part for you. We don't see John Cena for a while. Okay, he is going to take some time to recover. One, because he's old, and two, because the sheer brutality of the match with Gunther is going to take a toll on anybody's body, let alone John Cena's. And also because he needs to get his mind right. If you saw the last booking, you will know that Cena was going through a bit of a crisis of confidence, right? He started to doubt himself quite a bit. And so the last thing he needs right now is to try and jump right back in and be desperate. He needs to not allow that doubt to creep back in because at this point, it's seen as last year. He cannot afford to let that creep back in. So that means we jump to April 21st. This is the Raw after WrestleMania. Cena is off TV, and in the meantime, the former Intercontinental Champion who lost his Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, Braun Breaker, cuts a promo, both on the IC title and, of course, on John Cena. He says that he can't understand how Cena could be so stupid. He was never his friend. He figured maybe he could use him to get to the top, but Cena is way too selfish, as always, to share the spotlight. And well, the spotlight isn't big enough for two people. So, bye-bye, John. And as far as he's concerned, the year of Cena is canceled, and Cena is never coming back. And there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. Then CM Punk comes out and responds. Fresh off of a loss at a fatal four-way at WrestleMania, Punk says he isn't in the mood to hear stupid things from stupid people. And this isn't the same CM Punk that we knew from a decade ago because I mean, yeah, we all knew that at this point, at least it seems so, but there is a 0% chance that the CM Punk of old, back in 2012, 2013, 2014, would ever come to John Cena's aid publicly, regardless of his feelings for him in any direction privately. But again, this is not the same CM Punk. John Cena is CM Punk's greatest opponent in this company. And more importantly, for Punk right now, John Cena is his friend. And as many awful things as you could say about CM Punk and what he's done in the past, or whatever kind of person you think he is, the one thing you can't say is that he wouldn't do anything to defend his friends. So he challenges Braun Breaker to a match later on in the evening, and Breaker, of course, accepts. So main event of Raw, CM Punk versus Braun Breaker. Punk looks like he's about to put Braun Breaker away when he is blasted through the barricade outside the ring by a returning Bronson Reed. Reed has returned from his injury, and he blames CM Punk for it, since CM Punk, if you watched War Games, pulled Roman Reigns off of the table at War Games as Reed crashed through it, ultimately breaking not one, but both, I believe, of his ankles, at the very least, one ankle. And, of course, CM Punk actually just went out on Monday Night Raw as we're recording this. What's today? Wednesday? 2 nights ago? And said, I injured Bronson Reed. He literally took credit for it. So this is something that obviously Bronson Reed will take personally, and he will go after CM Punk right there. So he beats down Punk, and the match unfortunately ends in a no contest. So that means that CM Punk will now transition to a feud with Bronson Reed, and Breakker will transition back to a feud with the man who defeated him at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship, Drew McIntyre. But all throughout the build-up to Backlash, Punk and Breakker keep mentioning each other in their promos and how much they think the other is stupid. So that way, we as fans know in the back of each of our minds that the feud is still ongoing between the two. So at Backlash, it is Bronson Reed versus CM Punk, and CM Punk picks up the win after Bronson Reed was distracted by a man in a hood who jumps the barricade and slowly walks to ringside. The man doesn't get physically involved, but that distraction is enough to allow CM Punk to pick up the victory. As CM Punk is celebrating in the ring, the man stands up on the apron in the mask, and he takes off the hood and the mask to reveal that it is Seth Rollins. He hasn't forgotten all the times that Bronson Reed attacked him, and so now he's out for revenge, so much so that he's even willing to help Punk by proxy to get it. And of course, Braun Breaker versus Drew McIntyre a little bit later on in the show ends with Drew McIntyre being victorious after interference from, you guessed it, CM Punk. And I know there's been a lot of interference, very interference heavy so far. I promise this is the last one. Punk costs Breaker the Intercontinental Championship, so their feud has now restarted. And that means that at Clash at the Castle on June 21st, it is Braun Breaker versus CM Punk in a street fight, with the winner becoming the #1 contender for Gunther's World Heavyweight Championship. But before we get to how that match goes, we have to talk about the King of the Ring. So we'll take our minds back now to May 19th. Don't tell Kane, that's his least favorite day. If you don't know that inside joke, don't worry about it. May 19th, Triple H announces the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournament. And as he's talking, he is interrupted by one Chad Gable. Gable says that he will win the King of the Ring tournament, and so he better be in it, or else there will be consequences. So Triple H says, relax, relax, Chad, relax. I haven't even brought up the tournament bracket. Calm down, calm down. So he reveals the tournament bracket, and sure enough, Chad Gable is in it in a first-round match against Otis. And unfortunately, to much the pain of the fans, John Cena is not in the tournament. We don't know when John's going to come back. But back to Chad Gable. Gable hates this, of course, because he has to face Otis again, and because he just wants to get rid of Otis once and for all. But then Triple H says something that gets Chad's attention. He says he respects Chad Gable a lot, and that he, Triple H, felt the same way that Chad does right now when he was in his shoes a long, long time ago, way back in 1997. And guess what? Triple H, I won the King of the Ring in 1997. So Triple H feels that Gable could do the same thing for his career this time around. And this, of course, gets Gable all fired up. Triple H says that he feels so strongly about it that he's going to watch this match from ringside. That way, he can witness the next great superstar take a huge step forward tonight. So, after the commercial break, Chad Gable is in the ring when the camera goes to the locker room and finds Otis attacked and laid out in the parking lot. He is attended to by medics, but unfortunately, it's no use. There's no way Otis is competing tonight. So Chad Gable grabs the microphone and says, "Oh, that's just too bad. Poor Otis. Well, I guess, Triple H, you have no choice but to raise my hand as the victor via forfeit. Thank you!" Thinking that he snuck one up on Triple H. Triple H, sitting at ringside as he said, grabs the microphone and says, "Chad, you know, I figured you'd pull something like this, and that's why I have a backup plan waiting in the wings." After a short pause and a confused Chad Gable, himself and the rest of us hear the familiar trumpets of John Cena's music blaring through the speakers. Chad Gable throws a fit, but the match goes on ahead as scheduled, with his new opponent and new entry into the King of the Ring tournament being one John Cena, who has returned after a month-long absence. The crowd, of course, goes crazy. Cena and Gable have a nice 12-minute match, and Cena pins Chad Gable, marking his first one-on-one victory in WWE in over 7 years. Triple H then gets in the ring, raises Cena's hand, gives him a hug, and off mic, but loud enough for the people at home to hear, he says, "Welcome back to the main event, John." Just like he said back in my previous booking. Later on that night, Braun Breaker is in a separate first round match against Seth Rollins when Cena's music hits again, but he does not come out. The distraction allows for Rollins to take advantage with a couple of super kicks and a stomp. 1, 2, 3, and Rollins pins Braun Breaker to move on in the tournament. The camera then cuts to Cena in the production truck laughing and saying, "Oops, did I do that?" And he walks away because Cena is a bit silly. Braun Breaker then, absolutely furious, storms backstage and confronts Adam Pearce and Triple H, who are having a meeting in Adam Pearce's office, and he says they need to do something about their boy costing him in the tournament. And they say, yeah, no, that's called karma. Since Braun Breaker cost John Cena the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, they consider what Cena did simply getting even. And if Breaker interferes in any of Cena's matches in the tournament, Breaker will be suspended indefinitely. So, CM Punk then walks in as Breaker furiously tries to storm out, and he says, "If you're stupid enough to try something, you won't have to worry about being suspended because I'll just make sure you go on the shelf indefinitely." So Breaker then, furious and humiliated, storms out, and this will allow this story to breathe a little bit without needing to pay it off right away. Moving on to the May 26th, so this is the next following Raw, John Cena's next opponent is Karrion Kross, who he defeats in a very close 15-minute encounter by making him tap out to the STF. Cena then moves on to the next round of the tournament. Nice and simple. June 2nd, and the finals of the Raw bracket of the King of the Ring tournament. He has a rematch against Damian Priest. For those of you who remember my first booking, Damian Priest absolutely destroyed John Cena in the Elimination Chamber qualifier matches back in February. But as we've come to see, this is not the same John Cena as he was back in February. No longer is he going through a crisis of confidence, and in an 18-minute back and forth match, John Cena hits Damian Priest with an avalanche AA for the 1, 2, 3, and John Cena will be the Raw representative at King and Queen of the Ring. Breaker watches from backstage as Cena wins the tournament, seething. He screams and he destroys a TV monitor. He picks up a chair and he just turns around and he flings it as hard as he can, not realizing that there is a medical personnel person, that didn't really sound right, but you get what I'm saying, a trainer of some sort standing right behind him. The chair absolutely obliterates this poor trainer, and Adam Pearce was walking by and saw this happen. He says that Breaker needs to see him in his office immediately as he grabs him and pulls Breaker away. Later on in the show, Michael Cole on commentary announces that Braun Breaker has been fined $100,000 for injuring a medical employee and that he is now on a zero tolerance list, meaning any other incidents of causing physical harm to a WWE employee other than a wrestler, meaning referee, manager, trainer, or otherwise, he will be suspended for 90 days. So that leaves us to June 6th. So this is not Raw. This is the following SmackDown. So as I just said, Cena wins the tournament bracket on Raw. But what about on SmackDown? The winner of that tournament is Solo Sikoa. He wins the tournament on Friday nights, but after his finals match ends, The Rock returns for the first time since his loss at WrestleMania. He walks to the ring and gives Solo a big hug with a big old smile on his face and says that he is so proud of Solo and that his parents and the whole bloodline is proud of him. And when one of us wins, we all win. That's what family does. So, on behalf of the family, and as your tribal chief, just wanted to let you know I'll be taking it from here. Yeah. See, like when I said when one of us wins, we all win, I meant it. You see this card right here? This badge? What does that say? That says director of the board. That means I'm the final boss. You see this Ulafala right here? That means I am your tribal chief. Either way, whichever way you want to look at it, that means you do as I say. And I say, you're not facing John Cena at King and Queen of the Ring. I am. If you smell what the final boss is cooking. The bloodline, listen, the bloodline eventually has to start shifting with The Rock revealed as the tribal chief before WrestleMania in my booking. Solo is no longer in charge here. And since this final boss character is so domineering, make this just a proper cult mentality. Whatever the underlings do, the leader gets the credit. That's how a cult works. This needs
Yep.
to change. This needs to kind of go in a certain direction here with The Rock. He came back. It didn't make any sense the first time. We still haven't gotten any kind of payoff from it. So I am just trying to speed this along. So you have the leader of the cult, The Rock, take credit for everything everyone else does in this cult. Let him take all the success of the group and have The Rock just take this opportunity from Solo. And hopefully, this will also start to drive some tension in the bloodline. So, at King and Queen of the Ring, it's John Cena versus The Rock. Thrice in a lifetime. You heard me. So, just to make sure everyone is on the same page with what my expectations are and what your expectations should be. Last year, in real life at King of the Ring, the King and Queen of the Ring winners got a world title match at SummerSlam. We are not doing the same thing this time. Instead, the prize for King and Queen of the Ring will just be a championship match of their choosing at Money in the Bank. That way you can have some flexibility on both the men and women's sides based on whatever storylines you have going. And I'm hoping it'll also help you get over the new secondary women's titles that they just had. Perhaps if somebody like Becky Lynch wins this, Queen of the Ring tournament, and instead of her going after a world title, this person who may be considered the greatest women's wrestler of all time instead goes after the Intercontinental Championship, the new Women's Intercontinental Championship, thinking it's a championship that she never won and she wants to have a legacy with it. Whatever story specifically you want to tell, that's why I'm doing it. Okay, so at King and Queen of the Ring, it is 25 minutes of absolute cinema. And The Rock dominates most of the match, but this version that I have kind of created and curated here just won't ever stay down. And it's not really like he used to never stay down in like a really annoying, over crying out loud, here we go again way. It's truly an underdog, Daniel Bryan, Johnny Gargano type of way, where you just want him to stay down because he's suffering, but he just refuses. He just won't ever stay down. The Bloodline eventually come out to interfere, and John Cena fights all of them off single-handedly, and he eventually turns the match around and has The Rock on the ropes when Braun Breaker tries to make his presence known again, but this time is stopped by CM Punk while he's coming down the ramp and hit with a GTS. Cena then uses this momentum to eventually hit The Rock with an Avalanche AA to win and become the King of the Ring, with The Rock absolutely ticked off at the Bloodline for their ineffectiveness in their run-in, but the Bloodline ticked off at The Rock for failing after taking Solo Sikoa's spot. This will then lead nicely into what I said earlier, which is the main event, or one of the main events of Clash at the Castle. Sorry, lost my spot there for a second. Clash at the Castle will be CM Punk versus Braun Breaker in a street fight to determine the number one contender for Gunther's World Heavyweight Championship. So that's where we are now. And despite Cena offering to help Punk, like Punk has helped him, Punk absolutely refuses to accept it. Cena would want to do this on his own, and so will Punk. It's a completely brutal street fight. Both men wind up bloodied, but in the end, Braun Breaker hits CM Punk with one last spear. 1, 2, 3, and Braun Breaker is the number one contender to Gunther's World Heavyweight Championship. And by the way, just for fun, Gunther is going to retain the championship later on in the night against Sheamus, because in my universe, Clash at the Castle takes place in Dublin, Ireland, Sheamus' hometown. Wouldn't that be nice? I don't know if that'll really happen, but you know what? Just for fun, why not? Let's have Sheamus get a world title match in front of his hometown, even if he loses, because that seems to always happen at Clash of the Castle. Is European guy gets title match, European guy loses, we're all sad. That's kind of how it goes. All right. So that now takes us to June 23rd. This should be the Raw after Clash at the Castle. So John Cena appears for the first time since becoming the King of the Ring. He's been off for another few weeks after his match with The Rock. He announces that since WWE has already made the match between Braun Breaker and CM Punk, the number one contender match for the World Heavyweight Championship, he didn't want to announce his pick for which title he would be fighting for until the match had concluded, because he wanted to wait to see who the victor was. But then he sat up and he thought about it. And even though he is tempted more than life itself to completely ruin Braun Breaker's chances at winning gold at Money in the Bank just because of how ticked off he is at him, it's never really been his style. Unlike Braun Breaker, one of the 3 words that John Cena lives by is respect. So instead, Cena will focus on another championship, and he will instead be facing Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship at Money in the Bank. Why? It's the only thing in WWE that John Cena has never accomplished, especially now since he's won King of the Ring. That's pretty much the only thing John Cena has never done. So Cena doesn't want to leave any stone unturned. And unlike Drew, he wants to give people an opportunity to shine each and every week and not hide behind loopholes or attack people from behind every chance he gets. So Drew, your time is up. My time is now, and it's now or never. Up to this point, just to catch everyone up a little bit, Drew has only defended the title twice since WrestleMania, when I said that he won the championship from Braun Breaker. One you already know about. It ended with the CM Punk interference against Braun Breaker, where CM Punk cost Braun Breaker the title. And then once in a match against Jey Uso, where McIntyre attacked Jey Uso before the match even began, thus kind of making the result a wash, and it was very, very tainted. So Cena aims to take the Intercontinental Championship from Drew, who, in, again, Cena's mind, has been a unworthy champion who attacks everybody from behind. And so this promo ends with Drew McIntyre attacking John Cena from behind. Sorry, that's just kind of how it goes. June 30th, so we'll move up ahead a week. So the next week is a contract signing held between the two men, similar to what we saw with Gunther. And these two do not hold back in any way, shape, or form. And with the talent that these two men have on the microphone, I feel that this could be the promo of the year. I don't even want to dare and try to write the promo for this like I did for the Gunther one and for the Cena one, okay? But I am happy to give you a few lines I would like to hear each of them say to each other.
Let's hear it.
Here we go. Drew says, "I'm going to kick the face that runs the place so hard that your own wife won't be able to recognize you." Cena says, this is not in any particular order, by the way. This is not like a response to anything. This is just like random lines, right? Okay. Cena says, "When I was told I might get fired, I adapted and turned my career into what we see today. When you were told you may be fired, you rolled over and quit." Drew says, "You say over and over again that your time is now and it's now or never. John, your time's been up since the moment you came back. You've been standing on death's door, just waiting for the Grim Reaper to come and find you. Well, I'm here. And at Money in the Bank, I will put you down permanently." Cena says, "Everyone on Earth knows that Drew McIntyre is a different man than the one that was fired in 2014. And the biggest difference is when you came back, it took you 8 years to realize that you left your balls back in Scotland." So that's just a few things that I'd like to say, I'd like to see, and a few more things like that, please. They get into a brawl after the contract signing is over, and Drew McIntyre once again gets the best of Cena, this time hitting him with a claymore that blasts Cena through the table that was used for the contract signing that McIntyre had set up in the corner. So that brings us to the pay-per-view of Money in the Bank. Obviously, John Cena versus Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. And that match opens the show, okay? The women's Money in the Bank match can just go on second. I really don't think that anyone would mind. I'll keep this short and sweet. No shenanigans, no interferences, no nothing. John Cena overcomes the odds, makes Drew McIntyre tap out to the STF to become the new Intercontinental Champion for the first time in his career. Cena is then interviewed by Jackie Redmond in the ring shortly after he won the Intercontinental Championship, and he says that he will be bringing the Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge back, but on Monday he will give more details as to what that will entail. A few things for story purposes to tell you after this match is over. Braun Breaker loses the World Heavyweight Championship match that he was in, because obviously he was number one contender previously, and he loses clean as a whistle. There's no shenanigans. There's no nothing, but Gunther really, really, really struggled to put away Braun Breaker, and you could see that Gunther is starting to kind of lose some confidence. And afterwards, Braun Breaker also attacked Gunther after the match is over in anger and frustration. And also, in the men's Money in the Bank match, Finn Balor climbs the ladder, retrieves the briefcase, and becomes Mr. Money in the Bank. So that's just a couple of storyline pieces that you will need to know for later. That brings us to the Raw after Money in the Bank. Cena opens the show as the new Intercontinental Champion, and he says that he is here, to prove that winning this championship is the biggest honor of his entire career. And he's also here to show that no matter how old he is or how much time he has left, that he can still hang with the very best in the world, and that he is worthy to hold the championship that everyone in the industry calls the Workhorse Championship. So how is he going to do that? For as long as he holds the Intercontinental Championship, he will be doing the John Cena Invitational, basically an Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge on every single televised show that WWE has to offer. Yes, that means every Raw, every SmackDown, and every NXT. And to show you how serious he is, this week, every single match on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT that he's in will not just be against one mystery opponent, but against 3. They will all be fatal 4-way matches. So if you want some, come get some. Now, before we get into the matches, this is me taking a time out here, okay, for all of you at home, so you can take a breath. I know there's a lot going on there. I have a few things I need to address when it comes to this portion of the booking. Number 1, this is going to allow a lot of the dream matches that all of us fans want to see to happen without the need for any long build-up for story. Okay? There's some people that he's going to face that we don't necessarily care about what the story is or even who wins. We just want to see them touch. We just want to see them get in the ring one more time. Or just one time in general before Cena calls it quits. I think that's really important. Number 2, we have to suspend a little bit of disbelief here that says that Cena could never do this at his age. There's no way. He's way too old. Because you know what? I believe if you tell the story right and have the matches go a certain way, I think he can do it. It'll be difficult. He is quite old, but I think he could do it. And number 3, I'm not going to be going into every single match blow for blow because we'd be here for another 4 hours. But I will tell you the opponents of each match that he has before we get to SummerSlam, as well as any necessary story beats I have to tell you, just so that the match makes sense. And lastly, and most importantly, later on in that show, so after Cena's first match that I'll tell you about in a minute, Braun Breaker will arrive to the arena, and he is egged on by Ludwig Kaiser and chastised for not being able to beat Gunther and for attacking him after the match was over. Breaker is already furious about losing and already furious about watching John Cena win the Intercontinental Championship, so he lashes out at Ludwig Kaiser, goes to spear him. Kaiser moves out of the way, and Breaker accidentally spears a WWE backstage employee who just so happened to be passing by. Pierce gets wind of this, and true to his word, Braun Breaker has now been suspended for 90 days. So we won't see him for the rest of this booking. Okay, so let's go over Cena's matches. On Raw, that first match when he says, if you want some, come get some, after that intro promo, his fatal 4-way match is against Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and main event Jey Uso. The other matches on Raw in order are going to be Logan Paul, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk. So those are the 4 matches that Cena will have on Raw. On NXT, here are the matches in order. A fatal 4-way match against Wes Lee, Javon Evans, and Shawn Spears. And then the next week, Ethan Page is standing backstage after Cena says, if you want some, come get some. He's firing himself up. He's ready to go, and all of a sudden a giant hand smacks him in the chest, stopping him. And then he's pushed into one of those metal doors by that same hand effortlessly. He holds his head on the ground. The camera cuts back to Cena in the ring, and Obafemi makes his way to the ring. And at this time, he is the NXT champion. But shortly, as Obafemi is doing his quite slow strut down to the ring, Ethan Page immediately comes out and attacks him, thinking he's going to rob him of a title shot. He then grabs the microphone and starts complaining, and Ava walks out and just says, "Stop it. Neither of you get a match. Neither of you. Go back. Nope, it's going to be somebody else. You both are being butts. I don't like you." No, she doesn't say butts, but you know what I mean. And Cena says, "No, no, 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 no. Both of you. Both of you. Let's go. Let's go. Come on." So it's a triple threat match between John Cena, Obafemi, and Ethan Page. And the reason why I did that is just so Obafemi doesn't have to get pinned. Sorry, Ethan. Uh, in week number 3, say his name, and he appears as Joe Hendry takes on John Cena in a surprise return to NXT. And in the final week, John Cena grabs the microphone and says even though he's tired, he wants to face the very best that NXT has to offer. And after a long pause, Johnny Gargano's music hits, and he returns home to NXT for one more match against John Cena for the Intercontinental Championship. This will give Johnny another nice little farewell to his home of NXT. And on SmackDown, the matches will be a fatal 4-way between, obviously, Cena, Andrade, Shinsuke Nakamura, who's trying to become double champ, and Carmelo Hayes. After that, there are 3 one-on-one matches similar to what happened on Raw. Those 3 matches will be against Grayson Waller, Montez Ford, and finally, on the night before SummerSlam, Randy Orton. Okay. Obviously, because all these matches are happening, that means Cena wins all of them. Yes, I understand that that's how it works. But a couple of points that I really think we all need to understand as fans here. Number one, it really doesn't matter who wins and loses these matches. Like I said before, especially with the ones like with Orton and with Punk, we just want to see those guys get in the ring with each other one more time before Cena hangs it up. Who gives a crap if Cena's the one that wins, or if Orton's the one that wins, or if Punk's the one that wins? It doesn't matter who wins. We just want to see those guys fight one more time. Number 2, these don't all have to be 25 to 30-minute spot fests where Cena's running around with like a chicken with his head cut off, wearing himself out. It can be 10, 12, maybe 15 minutes with one commercial break in between where a lot of it's rest holds, a lot of it's just Cena taking a brunt of the punishment so that he's not – I know it's kind of oxymoronic to say that Cena's going to take a lot of the punishment in the match so that he doesn't take a lot of the punishment, but if he's not falling over and over again and he's not getting slammed and stuff like that, if he's just getting punched and kicked and thrown into the corner into the turnbuckle and stuff like that, it's really not like as horrible as a lot of wrestling matches you'll see in terms of being beat up. So you can tell the stories of these good matches without John Cena having to tear his body apart, okay? And number 3, the story does not just stop there. Cena is not used to this sort of schedule. So these matches take more of a toll on Cena as the weeks go on. And you could see that slowly as the weeks go on, these 4 weeks, Cena's trot down to the ring is getting a little bit slower. He's not quite running the ropes as many times to throw the hat out. He's not really throwing the hat out as far. You could see that Cena's body is starting to break down, but his heart is not. His heart is still going. His heart's still beating. The match with Montez Ford I want to talk about real briefly. That's the match that I think all of us start to see a turning point in this story. Cena has a really, really hard time keeping up with Montez Ford. And I'm hoping that this match will kind of allow and re-showcase how good Montez Ford is as a single star. Because I think we forget forgotten that he was in that Elimination Chamber a couple years ago, and everybody kind of wanted to see him as a single star, and then we just went back to Street Profits and haven't talked about it really much since, which is fine, but I want to see Montez Ford shine. And so, Cena hasn't really needed to showcase his athleticism much or prepare for the kind of athleticism that Montez Ford has, maybe ever. So he barely sneaks out of there by giving him a quick AA, grabbing both of his legs and hooking him so tight that Montez Ford can't kick out, and he just sneaks out of there. But regardless, as beat up as Cena's starting to become, he keeps on soldiering on as we roll into SummerSlam, where Cena will have a PLE-worthy open challenge, excuse me. But before we get to that, since this SummerSlam night is where our second rendezvous will conclude, I want to get to some side business that you need to know about before I talk about John Cena. So, at SummerSlam, the World Heavyweight Championship match is between Gunther and Logan Paul. Mostly because I want to see Logan die a little bit, but also because it's the perfect story to talk about Gunther dying a little bit. Why is he dying? Because in Gunther's mind, Logan Paul would be nothing short of an abomination of wrestling. Gunther would hate Logan Paul, and every fiber of his being would just want to tear Logan Paul apart. But I mentioned earlier, and I hope you guys caught up on it, Gunther's starting to doubt himself a little bit. He barely mightily struggled, might I add, against Braun Breaker. And Braun Breaker also, many of you guys may not know this, is one of only 2 men, actually 3 men now, technically, in the company that's beaten Gunther in the ring. Ilya Dragunov, Sami Zayn, and Braun Breaker. That's it. Yeah, Chad Gable by countout, but I mean actually pinning him, or making him tap out, right? Braun Breaker, that's it. So he's already in his own head about Braun Breaker, and he barely escaped. And he's been battling for months that he hasn't been able to beat John Cena on his own. Or that he wasn't able to beat John Cena on his own, I should say, at WrestleMania. And even worse than that, John Cena didn't choose Gunther. He didn't choose Gunther to face at Money in the Bank, and Gunther was really hoping that Cena would choose him so that he could beat him definitively and get this doubt out of his head. But Cena didn't. Cena chose McIntyre. He chose the Intercontinental Champion over Gunther, and Gunther starts to crack. And now in this match, he looks at this social media star, this guy that doesn't even care about our business, only cares about grabbing his phone and getting clicks and getting likes, and he can't even put him away. Gunther's starting to slowly lose his mind. Paul hits a slingshot clothesline deep into the match, followed up by a frog splash, but Paul has taken so much punishment in the match, he can't make the cover. He's holding his stomach, and he's holding his chest, and he's holding his back as he just tries. And just then, Finn Balor's music hits, and he hits the ring. He cashes in his Money in the Bank contract, making this a triple threat match. As soon as the bell rings, he turns around, he hits Gunther with a shotgun drop kick, takes him back to the turnbuckles, and he collapses and rolls out of the ring. Balor then gets up, hits Logan Paul with a sling blade, climbs to the top rope, a coup de grace to Paul. 1, 2, 3. Finn Balor has become the World Heavyweight Champion, and Gunther was never beaten. Gunther is outside the ring, now completely distraught. He couldn't beat Cena. He barely beat Breaker. He now couldn't even beat Logan Paul, and he lost his title without ever being pinned. Gunther is starting to lose it. And I don't just mean lose it in terms of anger. I mean lose it in terms of doubt. He's really, really starting to doubt himself. It's not going to necessarily be as important now, but in part 3, it's going to be super important. Okay. All right. Now, to what you've all been waiting for. Cena comes out sometime in the middle of the show and does what he's done at every televised show to this point since he's become Intercontinental Champion. But you can tell he's really beat up. He just had a match with Randy Orton the night before. This match at SummerSlam, in my booking, to put into perspective what I'm put John Cena through, would be his 14th match in 32 days, televised. So he's beat up. Okay? I'm not trying to sit here and say that he's an impenetrable force. He's not. He's beat up. He can barely just kind of leisurely jog out to the ring, throws the hat into like the second row, like just barely gets it out there, takes off the t-shirt, real just difficult, kind of just flings it a little bit. Cena finishes his promo, as he does before every Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge, by saying, if you want some, come get some. And just then the arena lights go out. And all you hear is guttural screams, not necessarily of pain, but of effort, as if somebody is lifting up something very, very heavy, or moving furniture or something. The lights then turn red in the arena as a video plays of a shadowy figure from behind, in the darkness and from behind, training. Training in ways that we don't really see very often. Things like doing one-leg squats with barbells on their back with over 200 pounds on it. Doing leg presses with boulders instead of weights, and pushing a car uphill. But none of that time can you see the person's face, because he's either covered in darkness or it's an angle from behind. Cena looks really confused until the camera then cuts to still the vignette, but it's a completely different view now. The training is stopped, and the shadowy figure stands in the darkness, a complete silhouette, facing forward. You can't see them, but they're slowly walking forward into the light. So you could see their feet up to their calves, slowly up all the way out. And as he's walking, the shadowy figure says, "John Cena, you have beaten monsters, beasts, vipers, cult leaders, and savages. But not even you can slay." You could see his face now. The Mad Dragon.
I
Cena's
knew it.
face turns to determination as Ilya Dragunov makes his return to the ring after tearing his ACL 10 months ago in October. He has answered John Cena's open challenge. He enters to a large dragon on the Jumbotron as two holes appear where the nose would be, and fire bursts out. He stands on the ring in his robe as smoke billows out of his mouth, like he did a few times out in NXT. Why? Well, because this will essentially be the main roster's audience's new introduction to Ilya Dragunov. Because let's be honest, the first one sucked.
Yeah.
But this one will be the one that counts. You have, albeit very unlucky because he tore his ACL, of course, but you have a blessing now where he's off TV for months. You can introduce him now the way you should have introduced him the first time. Let's make it count. And oh boy, am I going to make it count. As for the match, listen, there's no way else to put it, guys. Cena's got to gut this one out. This one's going to suck for him. It just is. Okay? Because it's the polar opposite of what all of his other matches have been. I mentioned that a lot of his matches where he's taking a part of the punishment. He's in the rest holds. He's the one that's kind of having to fight from underneath. Not in this one. Not in this one. He's the one that's on top for most of the match. But no matter what he does, Ilya not only won't stay down, but he almost seems to get stronger the more pain he endures. He almost seems to get up faster. He almost seems to kick harder. He almost seems to hit harder. And Cena doesn't really actually comprehend what's happening to him. He just keeps kicking him and kneeing him immediately after all these devastating moves that Cena keeps putting on him. And at this rate, Cena just is starting to not be able to keep up. He's old. He's beat up. It's starting to not look good for him. Cena goes for a five-knuckle shuffle very late in the match and hits it. And as Cena gets into his crouching position for the AA, Ilya's not dazed. He just stands up and turns around and screams at Cena. And no one has ever done that before. And so Cena just doesn't understand what he's seeing. and Ilya hits him with a torpedo Moscow. Right from there, because Cena doesn't even know what's going on. 1, 2, and Cena kicks out. Cena nearly loses it there. Cena then hits Dragunov with 1 AA, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and a super AA. And Ilya kicks out anyway. He locks in the STF, and Dragunov gets to the ropes. Nothing Cena can do will put Ilya Dragunov away. But nothing that Ilya Dragunov does can put Cena away either. But that's something that we're all used to seeing at this point. So Cena then hits Dragunov with another Super AA, a second Super AA. And as he hits it, he lands on his hands and his knees. And he takes a big deep breath knowing that this match is over. Hooks the leg. 1, and a kick out at 1. Dragunov fires himself up and screams, crawls to the ropes, and bites the bottom rope as Cena just sits there, and he can't figure out what's going on. That's the move that put away The Rock. That's the move that put away AJ Styles to win his 16th world title. That's the match that's put away just about everyone he's ever faced. So Cena doesn't know what to do. Dragunov goes for another torpedo Moscow. Cena catches him in a drop toe hold, locks in the STF, thinking the only way that he can make Dragunov stay down is if he makes him pass out. Dragunov fights, and he fights, and he fights, and he finally gets one last gasp. As he's passing out, he drags himself forward, and as he's passing out, he gets one finger on the bottom rope, just as he passes out. Cena breaks the count, and he just backs up. He just backs up. He can't put him away. Nothing he does, this kid won't stay down. He doesn't understand what's going on, and Cena then turns his back. Turns his back, still in a seated position, with his back from Dragunov. And Dragunov rises up and hits Cena from behind with the torpedo Moscow as Cena crumbles forward before falling backwards. Dragunov then climbs the top rope, hits John Cena with a super H-bomb. 1, 2, 3. And Ilya Dragunov has dethroned John Cena to become the new Intercontinental Champion. If what I just said, if all of that seems so unrealistic to all of you, I get it. I get it. I really do. I truly understand. If you feel that way, though, I urge you to go watch 2 matches when you're done watching this. Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther in NXT UK, not at UK TakeOver, although that's a good one, or not at NXT TakeOver, that's a good one too, but go watch the one that they did in NXT UK. If you haven't seen that match before, you'll understand. And the second match is John Cena versus Roman Reigns at No Mercy 2017. Chances are, if you're watching this, you probably have seen that match, or at least you're familiar. Those 2 matches not only justify my position, they actually give it precedent, physical precedent, that everything that I just said has already happened. This is not me just pulling this out of my butt. This is not just me saying that this is super unrealistic, right? This is happening. As in, it's already happened before, so it can happen again. We saw glimpses of what Ilya Dragunov can do on the main roster. We saw glimpses of it. But go watch Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther in NXT UK, and you will see what Ilya Dragunov can do. You will see how much punishment he can take. You will see that he is a machine. He keeps moving forward. He keeps getting up. Nothing will keep him down. Nothing. Nothing. Ever. He just keeps coming, and Gunther doesn't know what to do. You'll see it. It's not. This is not an unrealistic thing. And we already saw a beat-up, tired, aging John Cena finally meeting a man with more willpower than him. Because in that match with Roman Reigns, what I just described, 1 AA, 2 AA, 3 AA, 4 AA, 5 AA, Super AA, Roman Reigns kicked out of all of it. And Cena sat there, and he didn't know what to do, and then he lost. That's already happened, guys. This is not super unrealistic for me to say. Now, yes, obviously Cena's old. I get it. Could he go through a match like this? I don't know. But one last time, I think John Cena can gut it out. Okay? Only this time, as it pertains to the kicking out of all of Cena's moves and winning in the end, I'm hoping the fans will actually gravitate towards this one instead of having it be Roman Reigns and them rejecting it, because that's what happened last time, because everybody hated Roman Reigns. Unfortunately, Cena did what he was supposed to do, and it was probably the right thing to do, but nobody liked it because
It was
it
Roman
was Roman
Reigns.
Reigns. So I'm hoping at this time it will be a lot more, oh my God, what is this man made of? This man is unstoppable. So Cena loses the Intercontinental Championship. Dragunov picks up a beaten, broken, just dead to rights Cena, and they shake hands and they hug in the middle of the ring. Cena goes to do what he normally does in these spots and give the young man the ring, but Dragunov pulls him back in. No! No! And he says to Cena, it's his time. He deserves the ring because he went out like a warrior. For 1 month, John Cena was the warrior that he used to be. Even if his body at times wouldn't allow him to be, he was still John Cena. He was the old John Cena for 1 month. So Dragunov exits, and Cena gets 19 consecutive standing ovations. I hope to God that if I put him through all this, that's that people in is it Minneapolis? Is it? I don't even remember where SummerSlam is this year. Vegas? I don't know. Hope whoever's there gives John Cena the loudest, longest standing ovation that he could possibly get. In the middle of the standing ovation that he's getting, thank you, John, thank you, John, thank you, Cena, all the chants, everything, Jackie Redmond makes her way down to the ring to interview John Cena, similar to what she did at the beginning of his Intercontinental Championship reign. And she says, after obviously saying, I'm sorry that you lost, and congratulations on a wonderful run, and thank you for everything you've done for us, yada, 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 I have one question to ask you. What's next for John Cena? Cena says, well, what's next is me laying down until I get feeling back in my legs. And maybe some pizza. Maybe some pizza. Pizza sounds good. Ugh. But after that, because I assume that's not what you're I assume that's not what you're asking. After I take a little time to heal, because boy howdy do I feel like crap. After I take some time to heal, I'll be back stronger than ever. But first, Ilya, you deserve this tonight, young man. Congratulations. You have more than earned the right to carry that championship with all of your will and all of your heart, and I won't stand in your way. I've made the point I needed to make. And I'm ready. When I come back, and when it comes to number 17, Jackie, it's now or never. Cena gives one last wave to the crowd as his music plays. He leaves the ring, and then we don't see John Cena until September. And that is it. That is my booking. Thank you.
As soon as you started talking about that vignette, and as soon as you said dragon, I was like, of course, Ilya, for your SummerSlam match. And of course, I had a good feeling where you're going with that too. And I was like, of course, it's gonna be a battle of wills. Because if there's anyone that could personify the type of person that John Cena is, it would be Ilya. And I wish I would have thought of this myself. Again, I'm not surprised at all you went this route, but I love it. I love every minute. I know
Thank
it's
you.
I really do hope we get those two a tango before it's all said and done. That's one person I hadn't really thought about. It's like, man, these two guys need to touch somehow. So I mean, I really like your whole build all the way through, bringing Bronson back, involving Punk, getting, you know, marking off King of the Ring because that was like one of the last little things that Cena hasn't done. Obviously the IC title. I think we both are definitely wanting him to have that for at least a little bit. Um, getting involved with Drew. I really love how you kind of like kept on keep Braun Breaker going through and keep kind of Gunther going through these. So I'm very, very curious, and I can't wait for your part three already. Because I'm
Yeah,
very
me
because
neither, dude. I'm so excited.
I know both of those are probably going to be involved in in a decent amount between in in those last three in the last few months for Cena. But yeah, no, I love it. I wanted to go back really quick to the 14 matches in 32 days. Who was it you had for NXT, the Fatal Four Way again?
Yeah, so Wesley, Javon Evans, and Sean Spears
Spears.
were the
Okay,
four
I
way.
missed the Spears. I was kind of trying to write some of those down as you went through.
Yeah,
I think it'd be fun to get Logan involved with him. Obviously, I mean, there isn't anyone I wouldn't want to watch. With those matches. Obviously, a touch with Hendry be great. That's probably one of those where it might be in the least likely end of the spectrum, but it's still possible because of
yeah,
TNA partnership. And I mean, I know plenty of people out there would love to see it. Gargano would be fun. I thought that was interesting. Kind of put in NXT, but he's very much an NXT guy. I
yeah.
think it's perfect.
That's why I prefaced it by saying I want the very best that NXT has to offer. And there's an argument to be made that there is no better superstar that NXT has ever had to offer as an NXT superstar than Johnny Gargano.
Hmm.
Like, he is everything that personifies NXT. Him and Sammy are the only two that would be in that category. And guess what? I also had him facing Sammy. And the
Yep.
reason I
Yep.
had him facing Sammy was I think I've actually talked to you about this before. Sammy's first match on the main roster was answering a United States Open
Yep.
challenge from John Cena, and Sammy, unfortunately, before the match even started, blew out his shoulder and was out for like a year. And so I want Sammy to answer the IC title challenge and go, I got both my arms this time, buddy. Let's see how it goes. Just to kind of turn that back around. And there were
Yeah.
so many guys, by the way, that I thought of, because I'm sure there's going to be questions about how I came up with who and when. But look, dude, I'm so excited about Penta coming to WWE. It took every fiber of my being to not have him fight Penta.
I
Like,
figured
I
Penta was gonna be
wanted,
penciled in. I figured Penta was gonna be penciled in for you there,
dude, I
but
tried. I couldn't find a spot for him. I just couldn't do it. There was nowhere for me to go. You know, I, I really wanted to. I wanted him to face Penta. If I had one more week, if I had 5 weeks in between, 100% the last match on Raw would have been Penta for sure. He was the last cut on Raw, but I just couldn't do it. And like, there's a bunch of guys like Rey Mysterio. I thought about Sheamus. I thought about
yeah.
like, there's so many guys that I thought about. Even on Raw, like, I'd love to see him face Kevin Owens, AJ Styles. Like, there's so many, but at the end of the day, you only have a certain amount, and you have to pick some.
Right, right.
And so that's what I went with, and that's another reason actually why I put the Fatal Four Ways. It's one of the selfish reasons why I put those, is because that'll at least allow me to say that Cena, fought some of these other guys, like having the New Day come out and answer the Open Challenge together,
Hmm.
and then he's like, oh, like, we're gonna kick your butt. It doesn't even matter who else comes out here. Oh, so, and they have everybody get fired up, and Cena parties with Jay for a match, and
Yeah.
like that'd be fun. Like, little stuff like that I could add in, and I did feel bad because originally I didn't have Carmelo Hayes in that Fatal Four Way, and I was like, man, I gotta have him face Carmelo in some capacity at some point. Like that, I can't just leave him out. That's not cool. And so because I originally had LA Knight in there, so that him and LA Knight could have a match.
Hmm.
But I was like, we saw them together already. It's okay if I leave them off, and
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, anyway, I'm sure there's questions.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love it all. I think it's great. Yeah. No, I was even trying to look something up too. When you were talking, I was like, oh wait. So
Yeah,
I um, but yeah, while we record there, so I have to cover something. But it's great. I love every second of that. Again, especially the build with Ilya. And that's almost like a near the top of my list now of like we have to see
sure.
this somehow, some
Yeah,
way.
and
Doesn't have to be
when
for a title. It just needs to be a match. It needs.
Sure. And when I okay, so when you came to me with this idea, and the prospect of booking John Cena's entire year was on the table. There were three things that I needed: him to face Gunther at WrestleMania, what happens at the end that I will not get into. That was the big one, and facing Ilya Dragunov at SummerSlam. Those were the three things that I knew I had to have right away. And the reason why, for me, Ilya Dragunov is so important, other than just the fact that I like him, is John Cena's whole kind of character for the last 15 years, I would say, like since 2000, maybe not even, maybe more than that, probably like 20, like since 2005, has really been like guts and willpower and not quitting.
Hmm.
Like that's his
Never give
whole
up.
thing.
Yep.
Never give up. Like that's your whole thing. So no one that has ever stepped into the ring with him that I can recall has ever also said, hey, by the way, I don't quit either. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Yeah.
You can't keep me down. No one can. No one has ever stepped into the ring. There's been I mean, Ilya's promo that I had him say is about as good as it gets. You've beaten monsters, you've beaten beasts, you've beaten savages, you've beaten all these different kinds of characters, but there's the Mad Dragon who is so psychotic that I don't feel pain. I just keep going. And it's not like Ilya's a big dude. He's a small guy. So Cena can overpower him, but it doesn't matter if he overpowers him. He just keeps going. And that's why
What?
that's why I had to have him, because he's the only superstar I've ever seen in my life that has more willpower in their body than John Cena does. And Ilya is also 29, and Cena's gonna be nearly 49 by the time this booking happens and that SummerSlam happens. So, like, could John Cena in his prime have beat maybe, probably.
That's the Iron Man match right there.
The man after 14 matches in 32 days versus what the hell is this thing? Ilya Dragunov with no prep time? Dragunov's gonna, if you book it right, Dragunov wins that. Dragunov's willpower is enough to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So to me, that's the big reason why I wanted that, because it's not a battle of like, oh, Braun Breaker versus John Cena, where it's Braun Breaker's just an athletic freak and Cena's gonna have to figure out a way to keep up with that. Or Gunther, he's a giant who could do everything, and he's so technically sound and doesn't make mistakes, and like so calculated. He's like my size. And he just doesn't give up. He just doesn't quit. Like that's his whole thing. And so Cena's never really had to face a guy like that before.
Yeah. No, I think it's great.
So I think the battle of wills, like you coined it, is perfect.
Yeah. And as soon as you were as soon as you brought up, as soon as you said Dragon, I was like, yep, I know who he's bringing in. I know where this is going. It's perfect. And then how you reference the Gunther matches, Ilya and Gunther matches. And again, anybody watching this, if you haven't seen those, go see them. You showed me one of the matches between them. I don't remember if it was the takeover
one.
Hmm?
The one that I mentioned in my booking is the one that I showed you.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, I think my mouth was on the floor the half the match, and was like, how is this little guy taking this? You know, how is this beanpole taking this? And he did, and and that's his character. And yeah, I mean, I feel like they've kind of done that for us since he's been brought up. But obviously the injury was untimely, and he was losing everything, which wasn't great for him. And they didn't have a storyline for him for a little bit, and they were about to bring him back when he got injured. So ACLs, I mean, that's kind of that perfect window for him to come back. So
and on the broadcast they said 6 to 9 months. And so I figured 10 months would be a good, like, in case something goes wrong.
Right.
And also, oftentimes, like, I'm pretty sure Charlotte's been cleared for, like, 3 months to come back, and they just haven't had a story for her. So even if Dragunov comes back, like, somehow is, like, ready in 5 months' time, they may just not have a story for him.
Right.
And so to just wait until they do have a story for him, I think it's a
good
time window. Yeah, exactly. Hey, John Cena Open Challenge, dude. Go nuts. This is your moment. Like... go
Yeah, I
crazy is
wish
your
I would have
moment
thought
kind
of
of thing.
that. I wish I would have thought of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's I'm sure. Obviously, I've seen your bullet points here. I don't know everything that happens, just like you didn't know everything was going to happen with mine. I'm excited to see yours as well. So don't think that it's shortchanged or anything. But dude, yeah, I knew the first thing that I thought about was how am I going to have him face Ilya Dragunov? Because I have to see that, and the world may not know they have to see it yet,
Well,
but
that's the
they're
thing.
gonna.
That's the thing. They don't know they need to see this. That
Yeah,
that is the thing. I hate using this word. We need to manifest this.
yeah,
I hate
yeah.
using that word so
Just
much.
think it into existence. Yes, exactly.
And one other thing I wanted to mention, get away from this manifestation talk. One other thing I wanted to mention, that I that I really like that you put in, and the fact that he didn't even have to take the pin in this match was an
Yeah.
Obafemi mention. I feel like if anybody on the main roster that's like, wow, of course it'd be great to have these two meet with Ilya and Cena. Anybody in the NXT roster, that would be great for them to, just rub shoulders. It's got to be Obafemi. I think Femi's gonna be that next superstar that they're probably gonna, I think, kind of cook with. And I mean, he's got to learn a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
more still and everything too, still in the NXT level. But I feel they're going to kind of slow burn him, kind of like they've been doing Trick. Like I feel like Trick could do well on the main roster, but I feel like they're just like, we don't need him on the main roster, so let's keep him down here for a little bit longer. I think they're going to do the same with Obafemi, to where we could probably, Trick might be like a Rumble call up or a WrestleMania call up this year, to where Femi might be, that next, 2026 version of that Rumble or Mania call up, if he's progressed how they want. But yeah, I love that you mentioned him there. So I think that's great. I really love all those guys you brought in. And again, like I said before, I can't wait to see what you have lined up for part 3 of our booking. And I was like, let's just do it right now. But but
Dude, I could probably do about 40% of it.
yeah.
Right now, I can't do the rest, but
I
I can
can do
I can do
about
some.
10, so that's why we're gonna give it a
Yeah,
couple.
exactly. We're gonna hold off. We're gonna
I
hold
I
off.
know again. I know my endpoint. It's just how to
Me
get
too.
there after all this is like, oh boy. So
Oh yeah.
um, all right. Well, let's we'll turn the page here. I don't know if mine's gonna live up to quite the same billing as yours will, but I'll do my best here. So we've had quite the journey so far for Cena. In both our bookings for his road to WrestleMania. In mine, he finally got the IC title, became the Grand Slam champ. Then came opportunities for title number 17, which he had a rough journey to earn an opportunity for that title. Then a rougher time when the opportunity finally arrived. He had brushes with newcomers, well established guys, but still new to the roster with Braun, Gunther. I kind of rekindled the rivalries with Punk and Norton and Styles, albeit all of them in a chamber match. But don't worry, everybody. I've got ideas for each of those massive rivalries, including Styles one more time, as they both have that. They've both beat each other twice in singles matches against each other, just one-on-one singles matches. But before we get to those juicy rivalries, we need to pick up from post WrestleMania for my booking of Cena. Um, we got so much of Cena on Raw for the first 4 months that I decided, well, let's put Cena on SmackDown. SmackDown needs some loves after Cena gets a few weeks off. So I'm not bringing Cena back from WrestleMania until the second Friday in May, May 9th.
Okay.
Give me a few weeks off after that. Just after what we hope for and expect, if we get it, a brutal match with Gunther. And it's just Cena coming out again. He holds up his, I wish I had it in my hand right now. He holds up his never give up towel. He says he may have lost the Intercontinental title quicker than anticipated, and he wished he would have done a few different things at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship, but alas, it didn't work out like he thought. But he still hasn't given up on championship number 17. He still wants it, he still needs it, and he feels like he still has plenty of time to do it. It's just he's running out of the opportunities. Uh, Cena starts to dive into what's next for him when a fed up Carmelo Hayes shows up. He berates Cena and tells him that he just needs to retire right here, right now, and instead of thinking he can still compete for another championship. Hayes states that he thinks Cena put the Raw roster a few steps back by winning the IC title and pursuing the World Heavyweight Championship, and now he thinks he can do the same to the SmackDown roster. Hayes doesn't want any part of this. He just wants, he just like leave our roster alone. Don't put us back.
Mm.
Kind of going back, to where that's kind of how people were kind of the 50-50 in Cena for a while, where it's like, well, you build people up, but then if they lose Cena, then it's like, well, they get step back a little bit. So I feel like Hayes is kind of bringing that back up from his past. Cena retorts that he started his career on SmackDown, and their fans deserve to see him in his final year, no matter who his opponents are. He states he helped make SmackDown what it has become. As soon as he says the word become, we hear AJ Styles music. He tells Hayes and Cena that they know he's the true superstar that helped SmackDown. It's still the house that AJ Styles built. And since Styles is here, he tells Hayes, get to the back of the line. Plenty of superstars want to face off Cena, and he's just like, Hayes, you're like one of the last guys that needs to face him right now. Get to the back line. It's my time. He's like, I want a piece of Cena. Um, so many of us rest of us do before he says goodbye. He does agree with Hayes that Cena should call it quit a few months early. But tells Cena he should be the one to put him on the shelf. He's like, you've won two against me. I've won two against you. We need our final rubber match, one on one versus each other. He's like, yeah, you pinned me in the elimination chamber, but we need that one on one. So Styles comes out. We have all three of them in the ring, and things are tense. They're just all ready. Everybody's kind of dropped the mics. Everybody's ready to face off. Before they do, Nick Aldis appears, and he's like, you know what? With all these tensions running high, let's just do something right here, right now. He makes a triple threat match for next week. He's like, Cena, I won't throw that upon you just as you just came back. I think you deserve a little bit longer of a reprieve. So Styles is like, okay, I can wait till next week. He goes to leave, but Hayes doesn't want any of that. He wants to start stuff right now. So he starts a brawl with Styles. Hits him behind the back because they still have their lingering things from just a few months ago when Styles got hurt. So he still really doesn't like AJ Styles. So he texts Styles. Cena's like, I'm out of here. He's like, I'm getting out. I don't want anything to do with this. You guys do your thing. So we get to next week, May 16th. We get the usual individual promos that we get for multi-man matches, multi-person matches. So individual promos lead up to the night's triple threat. It's the main event for the night. And once there, I just see kind of something that I feel we've been getting a lot under the Triple H. Multi-man matches have been really good. They've been fast paced. Everybody's getting moves in. There's not really a break in action. Every once in a while, certain wrestlers get a break and stuff, but it's they're fun. They're fast paced. They're exciting. So I feel we'll get that same exact thing here. I honestly see Carmelo Hayes ducking out of the ring a few times early on because he's just that much of a heel. He's like, I'm gonna let these two old guys, beat up on each other. So he's gonna duck out of the ring a few times, take advantage of certain spots. But eventually they're all just kind of beating up on each other. AJ Styles, I love his Styles Clash. He tries to hit that on Hayes a couple times, and usually pulls it off on John Cena, but Styles is kind of taking the most punishment in this match. I don't feel like this has to be, a good 20-25 minute, but again, multi-segment, one commercial break in between. But multi-segment match here for the main event. We get towards the end. John Cena finally hits an AA on both competitors, and Carmelo Hayes, he just doesn't necessarily really oversell it, but he just rolls out of the ring. He's like he wants another breather after taking an AA. But Cena's realizing that Styles is laid out right now, so he moves quickly. Styles gets up. Styles gets hit with a couple shoulder blocks. Then Cena wraps up the STF on AJ Styles. Styles can't get to the ropes in time. Hayes just kind of misses what's going on because he rolled out of the ring. So Cena actually wins this triple threat. So Cena finally picked up a win for the first time since he won the IC title back earlier in the year, before the beginning of the year. Following week, we're still in May here, May 23rd. We get to that episode, Carmelo Hayes talking with Nick Aldis. He's like, you know what? I deserve another one. I deserve a one-on-one with Cena. I didn't get it like I wanted it. I deserve it. He's like, he can't help that Styles got involved in his business once again, and he didn't take the pin in that triple threat, so he wants his match. He wants that match pronto. Nick Aldis plays coy like he does. Really, I honestly really love Nick Aldis as SmackDown GM. He plays coy and he's like, I'll consider what you're saying. But it's like Carmelo, you can't just get handouts whenever you want them. And then kind of right as Hayes walks out, Cena walks in. But we see them kind of just momentarily, just kind of nose to nose for a brief moment, and Hayes just dismisses him, muttering kind of old man under his breath or something like that. Um, so once Aldis finally gets Hayes out of the office, he's like, Cena, I've got a proposal for you. He's like, tonight starts the first round of the SmackDown side of the bracket for the King of the Ring. He's like, just like last year, it's a guaranteed shot at one of the world titles at SummerSlam. Cena's eyes light up like a little kid. He's like, all right, I got another chance for this thing. All this says the only catch right now, that he has to pick an opponent, but that opponent he gets to pick has to be either Carmelo Hayes or AJ Styles. And all this is like, you don't have long to think on this because this is going to be the main event of the night. So we get through the episode, progress through the episode, get to the segment. Right before the match, Cena out in the ring. She shows for the crowd as usual. Stacy's excited for the King of the Ring tourney. There aren't many opportunities left for him to go after a world title, so he's excited for the King of the Ring. He's excited to win King of the Ring for the first time, so he can challenge whoever he wants for a world title. And then he gets to the match right here. He's like, he says he feels someone needs to be put in their place. So he shouts, Carmelo Hayes, if you want some, come get some right here, right now. So it's Cena versus Carmelo Hayes in the first round of the King of the Ring tourney. Hayes walks the ramp, talking smack, says he's been here before, and he's like, you know what? I don't want to lose out a chance for this either. He's like, be careful what you ask for, Cena. Carmelo Hayes, I feel, proves to be too slippery throughout this match. Hayes goes towards nothing but net early, a couple different times, no avail. Cena gets a couple AAs, but Hayes been working with getting out of those, so he might get hit with a couple, but he's like he still bounces back. Finally, toward the end of the match, Cena's got him up, almost about to do an AA. Hayes slips out. He throws Cena to the mat, climbs up really quick, and gets another nothing but net in. This one connects for good, and Hayes is actually he's able to pick up a roll point on Cena to move on in the King of the Ring tourney. So while Cena's out here challenging, he's right back in that loss column. Hayes moved on in the tournament for the King of the Ring. Cena does not. We advance one more show. Still on SmackDown, last SmackDown of May. Cena rolls up to Aldis' office, but before he can reach Nick Aldis, we get a blindside attack. We don't see who the attacker is. We see the attack thrown into a bunch of road cases, beat up, thrown all around the back arena, but we never see who the attacker is. And we actually don't see Cena after his attack for a few weeks. So June 13 rolls around. We're in the thick of it for King of the Ring, but Cena's not involved. He finally shows up again and is like, I want some answers. We get a fired up John. He says Sue in the locker room thought it was a bright idea to attack him on his retirement tour. We get some edge from Cena. We get just fiery. He's not like a heel of any sort or anything through this, but he's just like that fire's lit under him. Like a lot of what we've seen of Cody Rhodes lately. It's like just because you're kind of the face doesn't mean, or a baby face doesn't mean you can't be fiery and have and just be passionate. So we get that side of Cena that we haven't seen in a while. He says he wants this person brought to justice now and demands to be settled in the ring. While he's going through this, we get the attacker slide into the ring once again and taking out Cena from behind. Lo and behold, it's AJ Styles. He pulls his hood back, pulls Cena up, hits Style Clash on Cena, and he tells Cena they are far from over. Cut to break, same episode. Come back. Aldis corners AJ Styles and says, this isn't how SmackDown is run. And that's not how we do it around here, AJ. He says if he truly wants a fight with Cena one last time, they can do it next week. The winner of that match, they get a shot at the Money in the Bank title, the Money in the Bank briefcase. So we finally get our one-on-one match, AJ Styles, John Cena. June 20th rolls around. It's the main event. It's been billed all week as one last clash for Styles and Cena. And I'm going to spoil this really quickly. Styles wins in a shocker. There's no love lost between these two. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't be surprised. These two have faced each other enough where they're resorting to figure out how they're going to win this match. They start stealing each other's moves. But Styles finally gets the win, hitting the Clash on Cena. Once he puts that Clash on Cena, he hits it. He puts Cena in his own STF, and Cena can't reach the ropes. He's just beat up. He's getting old. He's tired, and he eventually taps to his own move. And so it just wanting to paint the picture again. It's like Cena just overcoming or needing to overcome so many obstacles. He's like that number 17 is always within grasp, and then better guys just keep taking away from him. So fast forward to June 27th. He starts the show. He says he knows Money in the Bank is right around the corner. As of right now, though, he doesn't have an opponent as he couldn't qualify for the ladder match. But it's one of his favorite PLEs, so he wants to be on it one last time. He says he really wants to be there. And he has one last idea. It's like he's not sure if you, the fans, will like this. And he's not sure if this will even be well received. He doesn't know how this is going to go, but he's like, he has to do it. The crowd heats up. They beg him to do it. What does he have to lose at this point, right? He says his idea revolves around a man that he respects very well in this industry. He says he doesn't like doing something like this, and this champion deserves so much better than this. But he notes that the Universal title isn't being defended at Money in the Bank as of this moment. It's like that title should be defended. He knows the current title holder has been in some brutal matches lately, especially just in and out of the bloodline feuds. Kevin Owens, he just, he knows it's there, but he's like, Cody Rhodes, can you please come up to the ring? Go to break. Cody Rhodes makes his entrance. Obviously, the crowd is just hot again. We got two of the biggest superstars in all of WWE in the ring together, face to face. Cody Rhodes right away says he's thankful to see Cena face to face like this, especially since he played a critical role in what has been around his waist for over a year. Rhodes says he feels he knows what's coming from Cena, but he'll listen. So Cena gets right to it. He's like, I want to ask for a title match. It's like, again, I know I shouldn't go about it this way, but you're a great champion. We have a good relationship. I'm asking for a title match. Before Cody Rhodes can say a thing, Randy Orton comes out to his music. He calls Cena out. He says he understands that Cena is running out of time for his record 17th championship, but is this really how he wants to go about it? Orton says he'd never do anything like that. Him and Rhodes are so tight that he could never dream of asking such a big request. But we all know in the back of our mind, Orton has been eyeing that title for so long that we can kind of read between the lines here. Rhodes, well, he retorts back. He's like, I don't need you to fight my battles, Randy. It's like he understands that Orton and Cena have a history, but there's no reason for Orton to be like this. He goes on to say that while he had learned a lot under his tutelage, he'd gained wisdom he would have gotten nowhere else if he hadn't walked away from WWE and come back. He says he'll do what he gosh darn believes. We'll say that for now instead of what he probably actually said to Orton. But he says he will do what he pleases. He's like, Orton, you're a great friend, but this is between us right now. You're extremely out of line. So Rhodes turns right back around to Cena, and he's like, This is weird, but I accept. He doesn't like being in he doesn't really like this in a way, but at the same time, he's a champion and he wants to be an active champion and he says he will always defend the title. So he says, "Let's do this, Cena." Orton is vividly upset, but he's fine. He's like, "Okay." He just rolls out of the ring, walks to the back. Cena and Cody, they shake on it, get all this involved and make it official. They go their separate ways. And then again, this was this is um, I should making sure I have my dates right here. Um, yeah, this is a week before Money in the Bank.
Okay.
So so cutting it close. But I'm also just kind of just picturing Cody coming out of his KO feud that we assume will probably be on over around Rumble. We're not quite sure, but that seems where if we go with his set of three matches that he does with just about everybody. I feel we will get that last match between them at Rumble. I'm sure he'll defend it at Chamber, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chambers, Bloodline related. WrestleMania probably Bloodline related. So I figure he gets out of all that, has a couple quick defenses on the in between PLEs. He might be looking to he might not be ready for a Money in the Bank. So I feel like a little tight here, but I feel we can still work with this. So we get to Money in the Bank. Massive match between both of these guys, of course. Um, you know, Cena hits a ton of shoulder tackles. Rhodes gets a bunch of his Cody cutters. It's just brutal match between both of them. But they just keep getting up. The match easily brings down the house. Cena attempts multiple STFs, but Cody somehow always has an answer. We finally get a winner. It's Cody Rhodes. I can't take the title off Cody right now. So Cody Rhodes wins Money in the Bank, and it's a pleasant end. No interference, nothing. Nobody gets involved. We even have them handshake. Cena just passes the torch, raises the hand of Cody Rhodes, and says, WWE, this is your guy. This is now your guy of the future. It's been a pleasure, but it's kind of just really truly officially passing the torch from Cena to Rhodes. So the week following Money in the Bank, Randy Orton, he rolls out to the ring, starts off the show. He again just runs down John Cena for stooping to the level he did a couple weeks ago. He calls it shameful for going that route to ask for a title match. He says he knows Cena is better than that, and honestly, he calls Cena desperate. Orton asks if Cena should really pull the retirement tour over a full year, and that's even more desperate to Randy Orton. It just sees Cena as this wanting to get attention over and over and over again. It's like, is this all really necessary? We go to break, and when we come back, Cena comes out of Aldis's office, and we follow John Cena up to the ring. And Randy's gone to the back by now. Cena's come out. He's by himself. And Cena says his mantra is never give up, not be a quitter. He says that Cody by no means had to accept the idea, but he knows Cody is upstanding, so he's not surprised that it went down the way it did. As for Randy Orton, well, they've rarely seen eye to eye in this universe. So even though he's changed last few years, excuse me, for the better, he's not surprised Randy Orton is offended. Maybe Randy should have done the same thing and beat me to the punch. So this all brings up Cody Rhodes once again. Um, sorry, I'm gonna catch up on my bullet points here while I'm going here. I realized I got behind in here. So we got the surprising play fail at Money in the Bank, and now we're gonna get Cody Rhodes coming out. Um, Cody says he's grateful for everything that Cena has done in his career for WWE. He's glad that he got to have a match with him one more time. Cena expresses his gratitude, and he's very proud of how Cena has come since they were last in the ring together. Back I think, looking it up, I think back in 2013, they had a couple. They had a couple matches, not many. Cody was obviously very different then, um,
Yeah.
but um, we get them in the ring one more time. Both very thankful. So while they're just chatting, Um, Orton tries to ambush Cena. However, Cody notices Orton trying to sneak in, and he actually takes the scoop power slam from Orton that was meant for John Cena. Orton can't believe what you just did to Cody. He's like, "Whoa, well that wasn't supposed to happen." So Randy and Cena stare at each other for a moment. Then Orton just slithers back out, and we go to break. After the break, Randy has been cornered by Nick Aldis, and he's like, "I've got an idea here. Let's let's do something here." He states Randy Orton has to find a tag team partner pronto. He says because he is going to be in the main event tonight in a tag match. He's one of those two teams. He'll find out soon enough as to why they're doing this and who the opponent will be. So Nick Aldis walks up to the ring and has a special announcement. He says while they've had matches together, John Cena and Cody Rhodes are actually going to team up for the first time in nearly 12 years next week. So we get to the tag match. Cena comes out, Rhodes comes out, crowd's crazy. We have no idea who Randy's tag team partner is. We haven't really seen Kevin Owens around the scene too much. And he's kind of looks like he might be on Raw, so Randy's not really talking with Kevin at the moment. They've kind of had their feud anyway. I'm kind of envisioning at this point too, so they may not even care for each other at this point. Randy has a mic in his hand at the entrance, and he's like, you know, Cody, you were a great protege, but I'm gonna be around for a little bit longer, and it's time for one more protege from me. He presents Javon Evans. Now, Javon Evans and Orton had a really good match. That Orton was very pleased. They shook hands, really just had a great to do after the match just a few months ago. Javon Evans gets brought out for this tag match. And Orton says, "This is your reward for putting on such a great match with me. You get to be in the ring with me and Cody and Cena."
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good reward.
So and I think we get a really thrilling multiple segment match between all four competitors. Orton tries to clear out Cody, doesn't work. We eventually get to where Evans and Cena are facing off. Um, Evans is here to kind of take the pin, but still look good in the process.
Sure.
We get this. Cena nails the AA on him, and then Cody tags in. Cody tags in while Cena has AA set up. Cena hits the AA. Cody follows it by a massive crossroads. They win. So we're like, okay, this has to end this whole Orton being mad thing. So we thought, right? Well, the following week here, we're getting really close to SummerSlam, but we're 2 weeks out, and SummerSlam's a 2-night event for the first time ever. For those that may not have realized that, this match that's 2 weeks out of it, though, Orton is still piping mad. He says, "It's nice. I'm glad I got that opportunity to be in the ring opposite of Cena." He's like, "Nick, that wasn't enough for me." And then I'll just like, you know what? Calm down, calm down. I had something planned tonight. I had a six-pack challenge um, for a number one contendership. He's like, Cody doesn't have an opponent for SummerSlam. The King of the Ring winner, they picked the World Heavyweight Championship. So it's like, we have a six-pack championship, so we can get Cody an opponent at SummerSlam. The opponents in the six-pack are Austin Theory, Damian Priest, Chad Gable, Braun Strowman, and of course, Cena and Orton. So we get to the match. In the match, Cena and Orton lock up pretty quickly. They're just clamoring to get each other, so they connect pretty quickly. However, Austin Theory, just being the guy that he is, he gets involved. He actually shoves Orton out of the way, and actually is able to pull off a quick roll up of Cena, and right away, John Cena's out of the match. We're like, we just saw Cena and Orton go at it, and they were at it for 30 seconds. So thanks, Austin Theory. We appreciate that.
Boo.
at the same time,
Boo.
at the same time, Chad Gable takes advantage of this too, and he actually is able to get an ankle lock on Randy Orton. Orton's just befuddled and kind of accidentally just kind of taps and is like, "Red, now I'm out of the match." So right away, the two guys we were like hoping it would be at the end of this match are out right away.
Sure. Sure.
This six pack, this to kind of continue the third of the six pack. I have it giving down to Damian Priest and Braun Strowman, and Damian Priest getting out the win, and he gets to be the number one contender for the Universal title at SummerSlam against Cody Rhodes. So right after this match, wasn't the main event. Right after the match, Orton is just yelling once again at all this. A lot of confrontation for Orton, and we see progressively week after week this Orton just shedding what we had really kind of beloved about Orton the last 2 years. Really, I think. I'm trying to kind of remember how far back it was with Matt Riddle at this point. But we feel like I feel like a lot of fans have been on Orton's side for a while, and right now we're finally starting to see those layers come off, that skin peeling back to get to the Orton that we're used to seeing. So he's yelling at all this. He's like, "I want Cena one on one, not a tag match, not a multi-man match, just mano a mano. We want it." He's like, "Let's give the fans what they want." And he's like, "And let's do this at SummerSlam, all right? Just give me the match. I want it. Let's go." Um, so Aldous agrees. He gets Cena on board. The go home show for SummerSlam, we get our contract signing one final time between Orton and Cena. A grudge match to end all grudge matches. But Aldous has one last curveball. He says this match has to be a tables match. So they agree. We get them toe to toe, face to face. No moves a muscle. This is that showdown, and we're good. Like we're not, let's save the action um, for the fans. So we get this build as one last ride with Orton and Cena. That's the main event of night two at SummerSlam. All the fanfare, all the razzle dazzle is there. It's one would expect. Grand entrances for both. The crowd going crazy for both, especially for Cena. Once the match starts, we get them testing each out. Nice slow start. We even get that little like what Cena likes to do. I know him and Rock did it a lot. I know, but they pause, listen to the crowds, go back and forth. Chants are going back and forth for Orton and for Cena. Match goes how you expect. Each superstar is taking a beating after beating, pulling out multiple table spots for each. You get one outside of the ring, a couple in the ring, a couple up, lining up against turnbuckle. They each get put through a table through once, but they both get back up. Match swings in Cena's favor for a little bit. Orton mounts a comeback. Cena gets his comeback. It goes back and forth. Um, we get multiple RKO attempts, multiple A attempts. Whatever move you can think of that these two have done against each other, they do it. Um, Finally, towards the end, though, Cena just cuts up. He's getting tired, worn out again. And Orton turns into that sly guy he is, gets that hanging rope DDT. Um, Cena tries to get up and struggles up, wobbles over to one more table. And there comes Randy, comes around the table, hits that one more RKO on Cena through the table. Cena can't get up. He can't move. Randy covers, gets a pin over John Cena for the final time for these last two. And that's kind of the end of. I stopped with SummerSlam 2. Um, I didn't really quite decide if I feel like after a match like that, your table matches, we probably won't see Cena for a few months. But that's where I go. We get our Orton Cena match. We got Styles and Cena early. A couple different matches. The six pack challenge, kind of going through back to 2018 when Cena was pursuing a title back then as well. Didn't win that six pack challenge, so I guess Cena and six pack challenges don't go together. um, but yeah, so that's my booking there. SummerSlam and all SummerSlams, kind of how I put that. Just I think those two need to hook up one more time. I know a lot of people have thrown out those two need to have the WrestleMania match, or that should even be the retirement match for John Cena, being Randy Orton. But I kind of wanted that in between where we get a WrestleMania esque match, but we still get a little bit more time with Cena, but Orton still kind of gets his grudge settled finally.
Yeah, man. I loved that, and I how loved how different the the formula that you're putting in yours is so vastly different from mine. Like I really feel like in part one, you had him win so much so early and just have him win a lot, whereas I had him do nothing but lose. I mean, he lost everything, and then this time around, I kind of swung it back, where he gained his confidence back, and now he's finally doing all the winning. And you just kind of like you turned that all. You said, "Oh, I'm gonna have him do a lot of the winning at first," and then now it feels like every big match he's losing.
Yep.
And I would assume there's a purpose for it. When we get to part three, I'm sure that's going to all come back around and it's all going to work its way out. Or it couldn't, but that's what I'm assuming. And so but I really like how I think ultimately, even though it was so different, we both ended up in the same exact place both times, where Cena loses at SummerSlam and then goes away for a little bit, and we don't know what's next for him. Although, granted, I did say that he cut a promo about number 17, so we would assume in
Yeah.
mind that that was next for him. But regardless, that's probably still what's next for him for you. I mean, I would assume. So I love how even though right, exactly. Yeah. So it's I loved how even though it was so vastly different than my story, we still the last chapter is still gonna end up with the same outcome of Cena losing and moving on. I loved that, and yeah, you see, there's the thing for me. This is gonna sound so horrible because I don't even mean it. I don't really care about AJ Styles right now. I know that's a crime shame. I just if I don't ever see AJ Styles versus John Cena, I'm okay because I saw it a lot in 2016 or 2017, whatever that was.
Yeah. Well, it
So
was both.
it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and so I just that's not something that was a priority for me personally. I am gonna have them kind of come together at some point in part three, so that I can assure you. But I did love how much of Cena's past you've been using, because I actually think me, and this just goes to what we want individually out of this run. You may want to see more Cena facing people one last time of all these old rivals that he's had, the Styles, the Sheamuses, the Ortons, the Punks, the whoever, the Cody Rhodes, even though that's not necessarily, I mean, completely different Cody Rhodes, right? So it's kind of different.
Yeah.
But
Well, and the
and
Cody
mine is
thing,
more. Go ahead.
I want to kind of do that official like passing of the torch with them.
Yeah,
It's kind of one of those things I wanted to check off where I'm like, I don't. I don't know where we're going. I almost feel like this would be a nice little time for that to happen because once like I said, once we get past the blood, the KO stuff, it's gonna be probably right back into the bloodline, to where Cena's probably facing Fatu and then Roman and then maybe The Rock. Who knows? Whatever. All five of them in one
yeah.
match. The
I hope
whole
not.
family in one match, and he's
That's
doing
right. Yep. But no, but it's just again, it goes back to a preference thing of like, hey, you want to see a lot of these matches one last time, and I more want to see. All right, what have I never seen Cena do that I want to see him do before he goes? And so, and I know you have a lot of that as well with like Carmelo Hayes stuff, which was great, by the way. I love how much shine you're giving Carmelo Hayes. Because like for me, even if I'm not the biggest fan of a guy, if it's a new guy that is good, objectively speaking, like I don't want to just ignore them completely just because they're not really my cup of tea. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
Carmelo Hayes, just I've never really been a big fan of Carmelo Hayes. Like all the way back to the NXT Breakout tournament in like 2019 or 2020 or whatever it was that I first saw him. I'm like, eh. Like it just he never really did much for me on the microphone. He's good in the ring, but not phenomenal. His
Sorry.
his finisher is what Cena used to do all the time with the top rope leg drop. Like I don't know. Like it just he doesn't do a whole lot for me personally. In terms of like if there was an NXT call up in recent years that I wouldn't necessarily mind if just kind of toiled in the mid card, it would be Carmelo Hayes.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that my opinion is everybody's opinion. If you love Carmelo Hayes and you think he's the best, he's fantastic. Like objectively speaking, he's great. So I love how much shine he's getting in this.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
must.
felt like he was
Oh,
like
go
the
ahead.
good voice to just be like, dude, give the
Go
rest of us a
home
chance,
for
man.
sure. Oh,
Like, what the
absolutely.
heck?
That absolutely is something Carmelo Hayes would do for sure. That's definitely on brand. I must say though, and I you people at the home phone, laptop, computer, whatever you're watching it on thing. I don't know what's coming with him. I don't. I have no idea. I don't know where he's going with it. I don't know what his story is. So I'm going to ask this question in good faith. I genuinely do not know. This is not like us acting here or something like, oh, I wonder what. No, I genuinely have no idea. I'm shocked. Shocked. Not appalled. I'm not going to be like Stephen A. Smith. I am shocked and appalled. And oh, the Kwame Brown, he's on crack. Like I'm not going to be that guy. But I
Thank
am
you.
shocked a bit. Braun Breaker is nowhere near your booking. And as much as you and I love Braun Breaker, I am shocked that now there may be a reason, and again, if it is, I don't know, because I don't know what's happening. If there is, then great. If there isn't, then it is what it is. I'm surprised that we're 2/3 of the way through this now, and Braun Breaker has been nary a sniff of John Cena.
I mean, I had him good a minute. I had him good. That was their the opening bout on Raw
Oh,
with
that's right.
Netflix.
Yeah, that's right. That was your
You
first
know,
match. I
um,
forgot about that. How did I forget? That was literally the first thing that happened was he beat Braun Breaker for the Inter. I'm dumb.
but
That's
again, that
never
I
mind.
think
Forget
there's a fun
everything.
difference between. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I feel like it's a fun difference between us two, where it's like you're like kind of bronze, like right there after every turn, where it's kind of like, yeah, I want them to meet, but I feel like at least right now. And honestly, I'll be totally straightforward. I still have to kind of figure out where I'm going for part three. It's like
Sure.
again, I know where my tentpole end of story is. Um, I figured that out probably about 5 weeks ago, when I was looking up some stuff because I almost did put Orton in that retirement match, but I'm like, I don't feel great about that. And then I ran across some things. I'm like, I got to figure out how to get to this point. So, you know, um, I don't, so honestly, I might bring Brown back into it. I kind of, it's interesting because I am trying to do that in between of, yeah, I want to recall some of the past because I feel like let's have not necessarily the greatest hits because I feel like you try to do the greatest hits, you're still gonna miss people. So it's like let's do the greatest of the greatest hits, if that makes sense.
Right.
Um, so because I mean, I was looking at stuff was like, oh, should I try to get the Miz involved somewhere? There's a lot of guys that aren't in the company anymore that that you do it. It's like, do I put Joe Hendry in this kind of like you did? But it's like I feel like if he's involved, I personally do want more of a story than just let's touch NXT, which isn't a bad thing at all. I'm not trying to rail on what you
Yeah.
did there at all, but if it's me, I'm just like, oh man, I wish he was actually in the company and we could do something there for a brief,
Sure.
But yeah, the part three is very much of my beginning, but here's my end tent pole. But everything else, I don't know right now. I'm still like,
So
ah.
so I have all of the points, pay-per-views, big matches. I have that already. I know what it's going to be for the most part. There's a couple of details I gotta iron out. And I know exactly, and I knew from the millisecond that we started this where this was going to end. I don't know how it's going to end. Or hang on, flip that. I know how it's going to end. I just didn't know where. So like that's the hard part that I'm having to deal with. But yeah, no, back to your booking. I I really 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 did enjoy watching like not watching Randy Orton, but just hearing Randy Orton slowly devolve into this. And then obviously it sounds to me like we're going the finally the Randy versus Cody route once up. Yeah, exactly. Once kind of that
100%.
yeah the Randy and Cena thing kind of dissipates, which is great. I think that's a really good way to do that. And not even turn on Cody at first, but watch Cody kind of take the Cena side, and then have that be kind of like a Kevin Owens thing, where like, why'd you take Roman's side? Like
Hmm.
pile driver.
And
But
yeah, and even and yeah, oh my word, and even to the fact of like that might not have to be even hit right after SummerSlam between these two. We might
yeah,
see Orton do something else and Cody go do something else for a little bit, but it's like the seed's finally been planted. Like I think a year ago we were talking. I forget exactly how long, but I think we were both talking. It's like, oh, big, we want to see Cody and Orton. Probably when we were booking the WrestleMania, or right after. We want to see the Orton Cody feud, and part of me for a while is like, I want to see them in a tag team together, and then have that dissolve. But going through this, I'm actually like, oh, I need an actually involving Orton right here would get me to this point, hopefully down the road, that you're hopefully if you're looking at the stars a little bit, what may happen. But it'll also give me my Orton Cena match. So
for sure. And I again, I loved what you did with it. I'm really, really curious where your part three is going, because I think some people, if they have some foresight, can see where mine is going, and that's fine. I don't really care. Wrestling's about long term storytelling. We all know it is. If you know what's coming, then that's great. Yours, I have no idea. None. Because I have no clue. He could win number 17 during your part three, but boy, howdy, am I going to have to really try and do a thinker as to how he's going to get there after losing all these matches in a row to, let's face it, not exact. I mean, obviously, Cody notwithstanding, not exactly, competition that's high up in the world title rankings with your AJ Styles and your Carmelo Hayes and your Randy Orton's. Randy Orton is Randy Orton, so that's fine. But like, he lost to Carmelo Hayes, who is just nowhere near that. He lost to AJ Styles, who hasn't been on TV in forever. And even when he was on TV, although I guess technically the last match he had was with Cody for the Universal title, but before that, nowhere near it.
well, he had a match with Hayes before he got hurt.
Oh, that's right. So,
But to
it's
your point, that's
I'm
how
just
that's how memorable that match was.
I'm really, if that is the way that you're going, then man, there's gonna have to be a hell of a ride that we're gonna go on in 4 months to get him there. And maybe even less, because I mean that would be me assuming that his last match is him winning the world title, and then and then you can't see me anymore. If he wins it before that, you have even less of less time to do that. So, and then if you don't do that, then it's like, oh man, like what's he gonna do then? Like, is he gonna like turn heel on his last day and he'll flip off everybody as he leaves? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm so excited to hear the rest of yours, and I'm guessing you know where mine's going. Um,
I have a possibility. Well, we'll definitely talk post record, but
yeah. Now there's gonna be a
I
bunch of
have
stuff
two
in the middle
thoughts.
that
So
there's a bunch of stuff in the middle that you're going to have no ideas coming. That's for sure. But where it ends, I'm sure people could probably figure out. And again, that's fine. I hope everybody does figure it out and is excited about it, because that's the point. Is, oh man, eventually I think this is what's going to happen, and man, would I love to see that. Like, it'd be bad if it was like 4 months in advance. Like, this, do we have to? No, can it be anything other than that? Like, that's what I hope doesn't happen. But dude, I'm excited. This was a blast. And I hope everybody watching this also had a blast.
yeah, I do too. I really like the journey you took us on. We were talking beforehand that we recorded. Again, um, kind of previewing each other's bullet point stuff. We had that conversation of, you can probably see I could kind of pick out a few things, but definitely wasn't expecting a lot of things. Where you took things. I do like it that we have both put the IC title on him. We have both made him a Grand Slam champion. I think that's to me, that's not as high as number 17, but at the same time, I feel it's a very, very underappreciated accolade where, I don't know, maybe Grand Slam champion doesn't mean the same thing anymore like it used to. Because a lot of people have kind of done it now.
Yeah.
Um, you know, very few people have very few people are double Grand Slam champions. So I know we have a few of those. I believe at least two guys have that in WWE. I
Yeah,
think.
people that have
You know,
won every title twice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Miz.
Miz and maybe Rollins.
I think so. I think yeah, I think it's Miz and Rollins because I think Seth did he hold the U.S. title twice? Yes, he did. He held the
Yeah,
U.S. title twice, IC title twice, both world titles multiple times,
tag titles multiple
tag team
times.
titles
Yeah,
twice.
yeah.
Twice or three times? Three times because didn't he win it with Jason Jordan at one point? I'm pretty sure. Didn't he win it with
Who?
Jason Jordan? And then Jason Jordan like had a really bad
Rollins?
neck injury. Yeah, I think he was world. I think he was tag champs with Jason Jordan for like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I'm
I,
pretty
I, don't,
sure.
I
So
don't
I
remember off
think
the top
he
of my
won
head.
it with
I know
Dean.
I've looked it up, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
He won it with Reigns first, and then he won it with Dean,
Hmm.
and then I'm pretty sure he won it with Jason Jordan. I think back in like 2018 or 19 or something.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say if that happened, that was right around the time that I was kind of getting back into stuff.
I
Yeah,
think
I'll
because
look that up. Yeah,
right after that, Jason Jordan had really bad neck issues and had to retire. It was really
yeah, very
sad.
unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
But because he was a fantastic athlete, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that I think it was with Rollins. That's the reason why I'm saying I'm pretty sure it was with Rollins is because I know he won it with a member of the Shield because like he was feuding with kind of the Shield because he was kind of starting to be a bad guy a little bit, and he was Kurt Angle's son. I don't know if you remember that horrible
Yeah,
thing.
I
He was
remember
Kurt
that.
Angle's son, and so he put him in a match for the tag titles, and I'm pretty sure it was with Rollins. I'm pretty sure.
The
But
fact
anyway,
of the honestly, the fact of the time when I got back into wrestling being that 2016, 2018, that time frame, in a way, looking back at that, a couple years that followed and where we're at now, I'm surprised I've stayed a fan because man,
yeah,
oh man, they did some things. Whew.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna end up staying on your podcast here, or not, or this is just you and I talking. But I think I sent you the clip of Mustafa Ali talking about Brock Lesnar's Money in the Bank
Yep,
thing,
yep.
where literally he was supposed to win, which again would have been fine. I
Awesome.
would have been fine with that. Mustafa Ali was my least favorite of all the people in that match, other than Baron Corbin and Randy Orton. I mean, not Randy Orton because he's Randy Orton, but just in terms of wanting to win that match.
Yeah. Why was Randy in that? Yeah.
He would have been the last one I would have wanted because like Aleister Black I think was in it and Ricochet was in
It,
it and
it was a
Andrade was in it.
great group. It
McIntyre
was
was in it.
a wonderful group of guys in that match.
Yeah, but you know what? If they wanted it to be Ali, I would have been like, great. Not my favorite, but I'm happy to join the ride.
Not
It's
Brock.
somebody new. And literally backstage as entrances were happening, Vince is like, "It gonna be Brock." And I'm just like, "Oh God!" Like I'd have killed him. I'd have killed him. Like there's no like, how did he not walk out of that arena? Like walk out to the front of the crowd and be like, "Oh, y'all better stop cheering because you're gonna be real pissed off in about 25 minutes." Like you're gonna be
Yeah.
so
Well,
mad that like literally, dude, I turned the TV off. I did not watch main roster WWE for 6 months. I watched only NXT because NXT at least didn't murder my soul. Like
NXT was
at
so
least it
hot
didn't
right then
hate
too.
me.
NXT was so
In
hot right then too.
2019, actually, it was kind of going downhill a little bit. Because it was right before the pandemic, and then 2020 it really started getting
Yeah,
whimsically
but I mean, it
bad.
still had enough of
It
a
didn't
the
quite
train was
there
still
as
going.
in the bad yet in 2019, but that was like the Keith Lee North American Championship era, which was great for me. I love Keith Lee; he's my favorite wrestler of all time. But like the Undisputed era was kind of wearing out their welcome a bit, and
Mhm.
I don't know. It wasn't as good as 2018, 2015, but it was
Right.
still really good, and it didn't again murder my soul. So I watched that and NXT UK instead of the main roster. I just fully boycotted Raw and SmackDown. I said no, I'm not watching you for the longest time. I didn't really get back into it until the pandemic, actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
So I mean, legit, yeah, long time.
yeah. Well, Tyler, we've both been on journeys here. Part two, uh, John Cena's final year. We hope you'll be able to see his final year. We both remarked we did not do enough puns last episode, so but we will never give up on doing puns. So
Never.
I'll get them in at the end here. And if you don't like them, you're gonna get an STF. So deal with
That's
it.
it.
But we really hope everybody that's watched this has really enjoyed this. Come for the content, stay for us going off the rails at the very end. We love it.
That's it.
You just never know what you can get from us. But Tyler, thank you so much again for joining. Can't wait for part 3 from you. It can be fun.
Dude, thanks for having me. I had a blast, and I can't wait for part 3 either. Writing it down, writing what's in my head down, it's gonna be cathartic, dude. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, it'd be very curious to see what kind of how the next couple weeks kind of shape some things, because I mean we're getting into literally uncharted territory for WWE right now.
Yeah.
That hopefully the next couple weeks don't just completely destroy any possibility of what we're hoping happens. That's all I'm gonna say. But again, everybody that's been watching this whole thing, really appreciate it. Really appreciate the time. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think of our bookings. Maybe who you think you like better. Again, I think it's fun to see both of ours. We have definitely both enjoyed each other's journeys as we've done through this. Watch our first part. Enjoy the second part where we definitely did a lot of things different, and come back for episode 3. But thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you later.